My job requires that I'm in domestic violence court on a weekly basis. Because of this, I have an unlimited supply of party stories. Woman requesting restraining order from husband. Says her husband is obsessively controlling. When asked for details, she gives 2 examples. First, every time she sees him after a period apart, he demands to smell her breath to see if it smells like dick. Second, he requires her to log and count her tampons because he's suspicious she's using them to soak up other men's semen. Husband sitting on the other side of the courtroom. His face when. One more to gouge interest. Guy has limited interactions with his adult daughter despite still living with her. She sends him almost a dozen original emails a day, claiming to be a prophet of the new Lord. Pages and pages of evidence with some hardcore text. When it comes time, we will weigh your skin, kind of shit. Dad begins to get freaked out. Shows up to court with, and this is not an exaggeration, 12,000 of these emails, all original and at least 1,000 words. She doesn't show. He hasn't served her. He somehow hasn't seen her in a week or so. He goes home that same day. Goes to sleep. Wakes up. Daughter naked, covered in her own blood. Cuts all over. House reeks of gasoline. She's laughing, holding a lighter. Begins shouting shit. Dad tackles her. She's writhing and screaming. Gets control over her. Commits her the next day. Showed up in court with the story anyways and got a year restraining order, just in case. More, as requested. Overweight, thick-rimmed grease face shows up. 6 out of 10 feeble-looking woman requesting a restraining order. She and the guy had originally been dating. They broke up. Turns out, he took naked pictures of her while she was sleeping during the relationship. She doesn't know this. 6 months later, she has a new boyfriend. Wakes up in the morning, goes to her car to go to work. Her car had every inch of it covered with naked photos of her. All angles, everything showing. Fucking superglued and thick paper, so she can't really do shit about it. Sitting in the middle of her suburban neighborhood. Tries to pour water on it. Doesn't help. Manages to scrape off enough for the windshield to see. Drives Coochmobile to the nearest mechanic. Stares from everyone, recognizing the driver from her spread legs and tits plastered to the side windows. Has to get it power washed or some shit. Dude is laughing in court as she recants this. Admits to it. Judge approves the restraining order. Guy freaks out. Your Honor, you don't understand. I wasn't doing it to harass her, but to tease her new boyfriend. Sits back as though that changes a lot. Judge doesn't give a shit. Guy's face when 5-year restraining order. Middle Eastern woman comes into court, trying to get restraining order against ex-husband. Hasn't served ex-husband yet, so he's not there. Goes over her statements to the court. Here's her situation. 6 months before she filed, she got divorced and her husband moved back to Sandland. A few weeks before she filed, after not seeing him for almost half a year, she has an alleged incident. She's sitting at home, in front of a closed front window, reading a magazine, drinking tea or some shit. Glances at the road. Sees a car begin to come down her street. Windows are dark and she can't see into it. Looks vaguely like her ex-husband's car. As it passes, she suddenly goes into electric shock. Immediately realized that she had been drive-by tased. Calls the police and files a report. Judge asks the woman, "Your windows were closed, and the car driving by had its windows up as well?" "Yes, it was a very strong taser. I still feel the effect." "Ma'am, I'm afraid that's not how tasers work." "He tased me." "Even if it was a stun gun, that couldn't have happened through 2 sheets of glass. as he was driving across the street. Lady goes batshit. Claims the judge has no idea what her ex is capable of. Claims he must have invented new weapons technology to produce such a taser. Lady also later claimed that he has been trying to kill her, as evidenced by her seeing a loose wire hanging from a telephone pole on her drive home from work. Apparently that was him trying to electrocute her again. My favourite part of this one was just thinking about if she had been right. What if her husband really was a fucking military genius and was electrocuting people at his whims? Lady eventually was forced to leave the courtroom and deny the protective order she had requested. Wonder if she did die. Here's a really fucking weird one. Woman requesting an order against her ex-boyfriend. Boyfriend moved out about 3 months prior. They've had minimal contact since. She declares that she needs protection because he has been ejaculating on everything I own. According to her, this motherfucker had been sneaking into her home on the daily and spraying jizz on her household items. Sticky phone, sticky purse, sticky pots, sticky pans, sticky dog, sticky chairs, you name it. She said this has been happening for close to a month. Says she immediately knew what it was and who did it. Guy's looking, making the biggest "what the fuck" face in court. Responds with the basic, "Why would I do that? Who would do that? I've moved on, blah blah blah." Woman interrupts and produces evidence for the court. Judge looks at it. Private testing she had done. Confirmed for semen. Confirmed for his semen. All of it was his semen. Judge asks the guy if he has anything to say for the record. I've never had much use for this gif, but the change in his fucking face when. Too much glee up in here. Let's take a turn for the sadder with my first "that dude is gonna die" experience. Mexican dude in court. Claims that his wife's 2 brothers are harassing him and physically intimidating him. Wife complains to her brothers whenever her and her husband have a problem, and the brothers retaliate. Follow the husband in their car wherever he goes, not saying anything, slowly rolling behind him. On the few occasions he's confronted them, they've tried to physically subdue him and take him, but he's escaped, even once through a fire exit. Never a police report filed because they flee when they hear La Policia. Both brothers are from Mexico. Third brother from Mexico as well is in jail for murder. Both are huge, imposing, tatted guys. Husband is tiny and looks comically like a 20th century Mexican rancher. Restraining order request is denied because no police request. Husband looks terrified. Brothers smirking in their denim and flannel. Less than a month before the husband goes missing. Still technically a missing person. Come on. And now, a return to me trying not to die laughing while in court. Husband and wife are separated but have no restraining order. Have custody order that is constantly a subject of debate for them. 2 kids, boy 10 and a girl 8. One day, dad shows up from school to pick kids up like he's supposed to. Mum shows up too. Dad gets daughter, but mum grabs her son and takes him, saying it's her time. School does nothing. Both parents drive away. Boy in mum's car begins to yell that he wants to talk to dad. Mum calls dad to get him to shut up. Gives the kid the phone. Dad, I want to see you. Don't worry, Dad. I have an idea. Fucking 10-year-old boy proceeds to, in the seat next to his mum, drop his pants and start shitting. Takes the fattest shit of his life all over the front seat. Oozing down his crack and all over his pants and legs. Smell is unbearable. Mum freaks out. God damn it! Immediately drives him to the dad and gives the dad the son because she can't deal with it. Mum and dad proceed to spend at least an hour of the court's time arguing over if the dad instructed the kid to shit his way out of his situation. Judge's face during all of this. Alright, last one because I need to sleep. I legit do have court in the morning. This one was fun. Guy trying to get restraining order against lady for obsessive behaviour. For the year after their relationship ended, she texted him every single day. Stuff like, "Good morning, sexy," or "Hope your day is going well, stud." But also stuff like, "I hope that bitch you're fucking now knows what we did in that bed." Declaration even gets graphic. Shit like, "I was having a bad day until I started thinking of you and found an old bottle of Astroglide. Thanks for the 2 orgasms." These go on, multiple per day, for a year. Guy doesn't respond to a single fucking text. Not one response. Literally over 1,000 text messages of her talking to herself. Guy shows up to court. He's like 55, 5'4", broad, skin destroyed by too much sun, wearing cowboy boots and sporting a sick white mullet and goatee combo. Looks like a joke. Woman shows up. Legit 9 out of 10. Feet are stirring. Here comes the crazy shit. She denies none of it, but isn't really paying attention to the hearing. Just staring at the dude, wearing a rather short skirt. Legs originally under the table. Both the respondent and the defendant face the judge. As the case goes on, her legs swivel around slowly to face him. Judge is lost in reading out loud some litigation shit. She's not wearing any underwear. Half the courtroom is staring at her vagina. She tries to do the Sharon Stone vagina flash leg uncross, but her legs were never really uncrossed, so really, she just spreads her vagina further. What the fuck? Guy trying to get the restraining order is trying to ignore it. Wants so badly to look. She says his name. Snaps the judge out of it. Bailiff has to escort her out of the courtroom. She's screaming about the sex they're going to have. Petitioner is almost in tears. God, that was beautiful. Continuing the domestic violence court saga from a few weeks ago. Picture is the previous thread, in case any of you need filling in. We'll continue posting for as long as there's interest, or as long as I'm awake. Woman waiting in the courtroom. Landwell with teeth that look like they've been put in those old mailbox-looking pocket pencil sharpeners. Wearing full-body dress that, unfortunately, clings to everything. Every 5 minutes or so, she lets out a muffled cry and spasms like McFly. Arms and legs twitch, body curls inwards like a dead, obese spider. Bailiff eventually removes her from the courtroom because we can't have bitches crumping while court is in session. She waits outside, without incident or outburst. Is alerted when her line is called. Plops into her seat. Immediately shriek and crump action. Judge, not amused. Okay, baby slightly abused. She can move for a big girl. Responding party is only represented by the live attorney Broad. Clerk swears the Landwell in. Judge asks for her testimony. She tries to speak. Another full body spasm, this time a full scream. Judge asks her what is going on. She looks at the opposing attorney in fear. "He has a voodoo curse on me!" Claims that the dude didn't show up because he is too busy at wherever he be doing his rituals. Crazy look in her eye. Grabs her side. Screams, twisting her head in fear to face the judge. "I need protection!" She eventually settles down so they can hear the fucking case. She doesn't have a case, and the other attorney is just digging into her for it. Finally closes with the question, just to be a dick I guess. If it is voodoo, why would a restraining order help? Landwell's dance recital is over, and now she's just brewing a pot of pure fucking rage after that comment. Judge looks at Landwell for a response. She ignores the comment and just does the basic, "I need protection" shit. Restraining order denied. Cal barnstorms out of the courtroom after hearing the results. Lawyer leaves like 10 minutes later. The rest is just off of what I heard because I wasn't there to see it. Apparently, the lawyer went to go to her car in the parking garage. Approaches her car, sees nothing wrong. Suddenly hears the squawk of bloated anger. begins to look around her, panicked, takes out phone to call someone, and tries to get in the front seat of her car. Ham-bone arm shoots out from under the car. "Show me your motherfucking Liz!" That's not even a joke. The lawyer clearly stated she was called a sliz. I don't even know. Landwell is wedged under the lawyer's car, holding the lawyer's ankle, rolling around like the Stay Put Marshmallow Man, trying to turn onto her side. Her mouth is close to the lawyer's ankle. Lawyer fears she is going to be bit by the aforementioned bullet teeth. High heels on. With her free leg, stomps the shit out of her attacker's putty-like bicep. Landwell relinquishes her hold. Lawyer still kicking because she is freaked out and in hysterics. It's the courthouse, so police get there within the minute and break it up. Lard ass under the car, moaning like she's in labour. Her arm is seriously fucked up. Takes like 5 people to get her out from under the car. Nobody has any idea how she got under there so fast in the first place, being fucking huge. Ambulance comes and picks her up. She's later arrested. Heard from one of the attorneys that she tried to blame the entire incident on voodoo, and on the dude not wanting to pay his attorney, basically making the Landwell a voodoo hitman to clear his debts. This next guy was a huge beatard. I could smell it. Ex-girlfriend gets a restraining order against him for harassment after the breakup. Dude was outside her house, blowing up her phone, etc. Restraining order has been in place for about 3 months when the guy decides he's had enough. Comes in and files a request to end the restraining order despite the restraining order being against him. Really makes no legal sense. In his declaration, what the judge sees for evidence, he includes the following: a 23-page report as to why she needs him in her life, 2 MP3 recordings of him singing songs about her after the breakup, 1 video described only as a love video, not a sex tape, but apparently just 30 minutes of videos he took of them while dating, bowling, at the park, barbecues, etc., and some slideshows set to his personally recorded MP3s from earlier. Aforementioned MP3s are only like 3 minutes long each, so they just alternatively loop 5 times each. Here's the best part of his declaration. 12 8.5 by 11 inch Photoshop movie posters with his and her faces in them, all done absurdly well. Doesn't make any sense either, because the movies aren't even fucking romance movies. Lord of the Rings, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and what I'm pretty sure was originally a Firefly DVD cover, to name a few. All of them with his and his ex's faces doctored in. This was the evidence he was submitting to the judge. His court date comes around. This gonna be good. .jpg. Guy shows up and takes his seat. Doesn't get called during the first half of court. During the recess, the bailiff announces to court employees that someone there is going to be arrested. All the court employees are excited as shit. Turns out, it's our man. He's got a warrant out for his arrest for violating his restraining order by apparently repeatedly leaving posters on his ex's car. Court comes back to session. Guy's number is called. Shuffles up there. Classic neckbeard, wearing unnecessarily pinstriped collared shirt. Judge announces to him that there's a warrant for his arrest. Cops who were at the ready charge and wrench his arms behind his back, arresting him right there. Dude doesn't even blink, gives 0 fucks about the arrest. But what about my hearing? When will I have my hearing? She needs me. My face when this guy, while being arrested for violating his shit, thought he still had a chance of getting it nullified because he's a pro at CS6. Alright, moving forward with probably my least intimidating one, just in case the thread dies. This was the first semi-ridiculous case I ever encountered in court, so it holds a special place in my heart. Saw this man over the span of a handful of court hearings. Small Chinese dude with thick glasses and a victim face. Originally is in court because he divorced his wife. At the time, he said it was because of irreconcilable differences. When he had served his wife with the divorce papers, she had shoved him onto the ground and yelled at him in Mandarin. He worked up enough tears in court to convince them that he fears his wife and gets a 2-year restraining order. Kind of a stupid case, but whatever. We think that's the last we've seen of him. He shows up in court about a month later for a completely separate domestic violence restraining order. It's against his wife, or his new wife, or I guess soon to be his second ex-wife. In the time since the previous court, he had visited a karaoke bar to forget about his ex-wife. He had fallen for one of the girls that worked there. Note that when I say karaoke bar, I'm talking about a front for a Chinese brothel. There are private karaoke rooms, and all of the employees are Chinese import sex labourers. I've often thought about checking this place out actually, just for the lols, but don't have the need. Anyways, he goes to a karaoke room, pays for his sex, continues to drink with the woman, paying for her drinks, and then they go and get married that night, as he continues to pay for everything. Wakes up the next morning expecting his new wife. She's fucking ghosted the premises. He can't find her, she's not at work, and the number he has for her isn't a thing. Doesn't see her for days and is mainly just confused. That week, he gets served with annulment paperwork, marking the marriage as void. He reads the paperwork. Turns out she is already married to some guy in China, so the marriage was never a real marriage. Big surprise, she was a paid whore. Guy freaks out and begins hanging out in the parking lot where she works, hoping to see her. She sees him and gets security to tell him he needs to go away. 2 weeks later, he shows up with some friends at the bar, just trying to forget about the whole thing with the whore. Because of course you forget about the whole thing by showing up at her place of work while she is working. He ends up drunk and talking shit about her to her co-workers while dropping money on them to get them to listen and laugh. Little known thing, Chinese women have fucking crazy tempers. While he is in the parking lot getting some mare, she, according to his declaration, sneaks up and sucker punches him, which he describes as a real cheap shot. He reportedly is instantly KO'd because she's fucking Floyd Mayweather and he has zero jaw. He has to be brought home by his friends, which brings us to his reappearance in court, getting a domestic violence restraining order against the new whore wife. On his court day, he shows up, looking his usual victim self. Whore shows up as well. She is actually a solid 8 out of 10. Doesn't speak any English though. Their case gets called. She beckons for her translator. Guy's face fucking implodes because the whore's translator is his first ex-wife. First ex-wife just death staring the guy from 5 feet away, small smile on her face. He is almost pissing himself, looking around in panic. Makes absolutely no sense because he has a restraining order against his first ex-wife and she's not even a translator. These bitches were just colluding. He cries out this injustice and the court forces her to leave. They're screaming at each other in Mandarin as she leaves though. It comes out that the guy was going to this karaoke bar before the original divorce, which led to the original breakup in the first place. Hearing starts and second ex-wife admits to sucker punching him and doesn't seem to give a fuck. She's going back to China anyways. Guy gets a 6-month restraining order against her. She leaves. His original ex-wife leaves. And the guy walks out of there with 2 restraining orders, feeling like a Mac Daddy. Court is glad the saga is over. While a small Chinese man appears in court 2 weeks later, trying to modify his restraining orders. Here's the fucking kicker. He wants to get spousal support from both of his ex-wives. Let me summarize this. Dude cheats on wife with prostitute, divorces and restrains wife after she reacts, marries prostitute, annuls and restrains prostitute after she reacts, and then demands money from both of them to fund what I can only assume is more prostitute play. His fucking face when. Short, but sweet. Husband filing a restraining order for him and his children against his now ex-wife. Throughout their marriage, she was a heavy drinker. He'd come home and she'd be drunk on wine in the middle of the day, while their young kids are sitting around sniffing glue. She would constantly piss their bed because of it too. He woke up many a night drenched in urine. Some traumatic shit. He eventually can't take it anymore and confronts her about it. Ultimatum and everything. She denies she has an issue with drinking and basically tells him he's being crazy. He's now determined to find proof. Thing is, he can't seem to catch her doing it. Eventually realizes by sniffing around that whenever he would enter and she would be drinking, she would dump her cup into her, 7-year-old daughter's cups. Eventually realizes by sniffing around that whenever he would enter and she would be drinking, she would dump her cup into her, 7-year-old daughter's cups. It was the last place the guy would ever check. So there are half-empty children's cups filled with alcohol around this house. The guy has a huge flash realization and finds them all and dumps them all. Woman gets pissed. Guy is now super suspicious and is always smelling their cups. Woman gets drunk one night and decides she's going to teach him a lesson. Takes one of her daughter's lidded cups, drops trowel, and proceeds to fill the cup with piss and crotch rot. Puts the lid on and leaves it on the counter for her husband to find and unknowingly stick his nose in. Goes to bed and passes out. Guy ends up going into work early and not seeing the cup. Woman ends up not getting up to help her little girl get ready for school. Girl grabs her lunch alone and walks to the bus stop alone. At least Mum was nice enough to leave a drink out for her though. Yes, it happened. Girl gets to lunch at school and takes out her lidded cup. Takes the lid off. Begins to cry. All the kids at the school begin to cry. Whole cafeteria smells like piss. Girl gets sent home. Child Services report filed. Judge's face hearing all of this. Alright. Last one though, because I'm tired as fuck. I don't know why I always start these threads so late. This one is probably my all-time favourite case. Guy getting a restraining order against his ex-girlfriend. Under the name area on an official court document, he writes her name, Kelly XXXXXX, and then in quotes underneath it, writes Keg Leg Kelly on an official court document. So begins the legend of Keg Leg Kelly. Guy explains the nickname in his declaration. Apparently she was really drunk at a party one night and started throwing an I'm drunk as shit tantrum. Threatens holding her by her waist as she spins around, yelling for her boyfriend. Boyfriend comes over and she starts calling him an asshole for absolutely no reason, according to him. Tries to scratch and slap at him in her drunken rage, but he's weaving and light on his feet. Buddy has a keg near where she's making a scene. While trying to shove her boyfriend and being obnoxious, she teeters and loses her balance. Falls down and tries to catch herself on the keg. Pushes up against it, hanging there for a few seconds, before gravity forces this bitch to the ground. Keg must have not been full or something, because apparently her prolonged push was enough to get this shit to start teetering and tipping. As soon as she hits the ground, the keg starts to come down too. Topples off the table and lands straight on her leg. Crunch. She doesn't go to the hospital or anything. Poor ass people with no medical insurance. Tries to just set it at home and stay off it. Shit ends up healing, but not in the sense of a functional leg. Her leg is kind of gnarled now, and she has to limp because of it. Hence the nickname Keg Leg Kelly. The ex-boyfriend really felt the need to relay all this to the court. Anyways, about a year after normal Kelly evolved into good old Keg Leg, shit starts to get terrible with her and her boyfriend. Keg Leg has developed severe mental issues over her accident and blames the boyfriend. Is unemployed because of her useless club limp and doesn't get disability. She has no money, so her boyfriend is working crazy overtime hours to compensate. Shit blows up one night when her boyfriend stumbles upon quite a bit of hidden cash in their room, stuffed in her sock drawer. I mean, come on, Keg Leg. She's sleeping at the time, so there's no immediate confrontation. He's suspicious as fuck and checks her phone. Finds text messages and pictures from other guys. Bitch, come suck on these nuts, and shit like that. Finds out she's been whoring herself out for cash. Keg Leg has been turning some nasty tricks for spending money. Dude freaks out, wakes her up and confronts her. She's fucking insane, so she flips out and begins screaming at him for getting into her business. Limp chases him out of the room. argument stumbles into the kitchen. Kegleg starts throwing things at her boyfriend. At first it's just shit on the counter, like fruit and salt shakers. Thing is, and I assume it's because of her disabled leg, she has apparently developed Hulk-like upper body strength. When she runs out of counter shit to throw at her now terrified boyfriend, she gets into larger shit. Takes out full-size heavy dinner plates and begins fucking whipping them at supersonic speeds like they're frisbees. I mean, this bitch should have done discus. Dude is now fucking in tears, dodging giant plates as Kegleg screams pure fury at him. I imagine it was a lot like the bowling alley scene from There Will Be Blood, if you know the reference. Boyfriend eventually takes a second while she's crab walking around, looking for some more artillery, looks at her out of order leg, and gets a genius idea. Turns and just runs out the front door. He knows she can't chase after him. As he passes into the front yard, he hears a giant crash. Turns around. Giant heavy-ass oak chair from their living room comes flying through his front window and lands 10 feet into their front yard. Glass shattered everywhere. Kegleg is foaming at the mouth, staring out the frame of the broken window, biceps bulging from breaking the physical limitations of what a 110-pound Mexican woman should be able to do. Get the fuck back in here! Boyfriend turns and sprints into the darkness like he's being chased by a fucking demon. Snap back to their day in court. Kegleg's there, limping around at her club limp. Boyfriend still looks terrified. Requests bailiff stand closer in case she needs to be restrained. You don't talk that way about Kegleg. Hey! Shut the fuck up! Her hand shoots to the chair. Guy begins to have numb flashbacks. She starts to lift. Multiple court officers hit the situation. Takes 3 dudes all over 6 feet to restrain this skinny Latina. She gets taken out of court and the guy gets a 5-year restraining order. I'm still waiting to see them again because if I know Kegleg, and I think I know Kegleg, there's no way a piece of paper is going to stop her. Hell, she'll Donkey Kong throw shit from 100 yards away. One day, B. One day. Night, folks. She declares that she needs protection because he has been ejaculating on everything I own. According to her, this... fucking 10-year-old boy proceeds to... Come on! Nobody has any idea how she got on... Oh my god. When she runs out of counter shit to throw at her now terrified boyfriend, she gets into larger shit. Takes out full-size heavy dinner plates. Giant heavy-ass oak chair from their living room comes flying through his front window and lands